Hello, Willard. Thank you. And on Close Up this morning, the budget. It's compromise time again in Washington now. And it has passed a new version of the deficit reduction bill, a version that's still got to be worked out with the House. In the meantime, it does appear that the government will not shut down, since the president indicates he'll sign a stopgap measure to keep the country funded. But what's the final budget likely to be? Two men who'll be part of the negotiations are in our Washington newsroom this morning. House Speaker Tom Foley, Democrat of Washington, and House Minority Leader Bob Michel, Republican of Illinois. Gentlemen, good morning. Thanks for being with us.
Good morning. Good morning.
The two versions agree on many points, but as Henry Champ pointed out just a moment ago, the big differences lie on taxing the wealthy and increasing the gasoline tax. Where do you think the final budget agreement is going to come down on those two key points? Mr. Speaker?
Well, the president keeps insisting that he's opposed to any increases in tax rates, and particularly opposed, apparently, to any increase on the rates of the highest income Americans. The House bill does not raise income tax rates on average Americans. It does raise on incomes over $200,000 and a surcharge on taxable income over $1 million. It seems to me that those elements in our economic community could pay more. I hope that the final version will have some additional responsibility in that direction and not have a bill that puts too much burden on the middle income class.
Well, it appears that the president may be vacillating once again on the tax question. There's a blurb in the Wall Street Journal this morning that quotes administration officials as saying he could well agree to a 31% income tax rate for upper income Americans. Is that good enough for the House?
Well, we'll have to see what the president's willing to do before I'll be able to comment on that. I really think that the basic income tax rate should be 33% for those over $200,000, and I think a small surcharge on those over $1 million of taxable incomes is absolutely justified.
Congressman Michel?
Well, there was an onerous provision in the House-passed bill that had to do with delaying indexing for every American's taxes up until $1 million. Now, that touches every American, and we fought hard for that principle back in '81. We'd like to hold on to that. Obviously, too, we'd like to hold on to keeping marginal rates where they are, because the minute you start tampering with them, then, of course, the next year it can be raised again. We feel strongly about that particular principle. The difference in the gas tax, I think it ought to be pointed out, and Mr. Foley, of course, would agree that when we were first talking about that, in May and June, July, we didn't have the problem in the Middle East. We were talking about a broad-based energy tax, but things have changed since then. But people do have all kinds of objections over the 9-cent or 10-cent increase now, although they've had much more than that at the pump as a result of our problem in the Middle East.
In the meantime, the president's apparent agreement to go ahead and sign a continuing resolution has bought not only himself, but you on the Hill some time. Is it going to be enough to work out an agreement?
I think so. By the way, I very strongly opposed the shutting down of the government 2 weeks ago. There was no necessity for that. It doesn't provide any assistance to the process of negotiation and inconveniences millions of Americans and threatens federal workers. If the president is willing to sign the authority that the House passed last night and the Senate will pass today through next Wednesday, it will be a positive step. We don't need another shutdown. It has no justification.
What about the frustration of the American people? They have seen this process go on for months. The president's own popularity has dropped more than 20 points, and I dare say the cynicism level about Congress has probably gone up as much.
Well, we have the problem. This is a difficult process. We're going for the biggest reduction in the deficit in our history, $40 billion in the first year and $500 billion over 5 years. It involves some increased burden sharing throughout the entire economy. We hope it would be mostly tilted to the higher income groups and not to the middle class in the Democratic version. But it will involve some additional effort on all but the most disadvantaged elements in our community. And the other problem, of course, is that some restrictions on services will have to be part of this package. It's not pleasant, not what people want to do, but it's necessary.
We truly are out of time, but Congressman Michel, I just want to ask you quickly, do you think the final agreement will be fair?
Well, I'm sure it will. If the president signs it, it'll be a fair one. If it isn't, he won't sign it.
Congressman Michel, Speaker Foley, we wish you luck today and through the weekend. I know it's going to be busy for you.